Picks Podcast. I'm Dustin.com's Mike Cole, joined once again as always by Ricky Doyle. Ricky, how are you?
Woo!
Nailed it.
Get it out of the way early. Did you ever end up find a turkey
we'll
gobble?
Get to it.
Cool.
Get to it, yeah.
I know you were doing some painstaking work this morning trying to find some.
Yeah. Happy Thanksgiving to you. I just burned my tongue. The tea thing. It's 2 weeks in a row now.
It's
now it's coming
problem.
out too fast.
Yeah, it's a trend.
God
it's a trend.
Damn. Now we're recording this on Wednesday, so this is going to. If I burned it enough, it's going to get into my my Thanksgiving. Now I'm going to be sitting there tomorrow eating food and cursing myself for drinking tea too fast. But we're so a little bit of a weird week. It's week, was it 13?
13.
13. So week 13 in the NFL. Getting to the home stretch. I think Thanksgiving is a pretty good barometer of where the season is at. We don't want to make this too untimely, non-evergreen.
Yeah.
So we'll kind of touch on the Thanksgiving games. There's 3 Thanksgiving games. We will touch on then we'll get to our 3, 2, 1 unit picks. Included in that is the Black Friday game as well. Before getting into that Thanksgiving slate, though, what do you think of Thanksgiving? You a fan?
Big fan. How can you not
So
be?
I've had this note in my notes for a couple of days. I was going to ask you, do you think this is the best week of the year?
No.
No. What's the best week of the year?
So
Out of the 52.
I'm a warm weather guy.
Yeah.
I'm a summer guy.
So like
I'm
4th of July week?
A cookout, drinking outside sort of guy. So it's hard for me to pick a week in the cold weather as being the best week of the year.
Though, is it? I mean, I guess it is. It's going to snow on.
So I'm more of a 4th of July guy.
That's fair.
But I think there's a strong case to be made.
Yeah,
sure.
I think I was going to make a case for it, and now we're hosting again. Stuff has started to hit the fan.
Weather's not looking great either.
No, there's a lot going on.
Rain.
I come into this week excited. It's a short week of work, although here we are on Wednesday. Downstairs, by the way, today, the light's completely off. So it's not,
Well, do you want to get into the real dilemma that we're facing here in the office?
That?
The Christmas tree debacle.
Oh, yeah, there's a missing Christmas trees, I guess.
So if anybody has
I don't know if that's information that we're supposed to be divulging. I guess if anybody has any...
I mean, we're in the market for a new tree.
Put up a... APB for the Christmas tree.
That's the thing. We're going to get right past this week, and then we're right on to the holidays.
Because
right
it's a late Thanksgiving, too.
Yeah.
Ask me again at Thursday at 11 a.m. when I'm trying to, still defrost my turkey in the oven or something. Yeah. I'll probably be a little more... It always seems better than it actually is.
Yeah.
So, in theory, it's a great
There's
week.
a lot of stress in the execution of it.
Yeah, and
if you're hosting.
Me personally, I've taken on a good deal of that.
Yeah.
We host, I do most of the cooking, so it's like that, there goes that, right? You're running around. It's tough.
So I'm going the other way this year. I don't even think I'm going out to eat.
I'd be interested to kind of circle back on that next week then, because that seems like not a bad play.
Yeah.
So are you getting turkey when you go out, or
probably not, right? Because I think turkey's kind of overrated anyway.
I agree.
So if I'm going out, I'm not beholden to turkey by any stretch of the imagination. I might go get Chinese food.
I don't think it's I don't mean to be zany hot take guy to say turkey isn't that good. I just don't like it that much.
Yeah. It is what it is.
I'd much rather have steaks or something tomorrow.
Yeah.
All right, now that we've dated this,
but Thanksgiving is a great holiday. Once you get past all that, because it is just an excuse to just veg out for the day, basically.
Theoretically,
you're just the chill guy meme personified.
Jesus, that chill guy meme keeps popping up everywhere. Huh? All right, so we're gonna do something here where we're gonna talk about the 3 Thanksgiving games, but we don't want to waste too much time on them because what's the point?
Time is of the essence.
We need to get to other picks. We don't want to date ourselves necessarily.
Sure.
So I'm going to throw us on a timer here. I think if I've done this correctly, we'll have a Thanksgiving-themed timer that will go off at the conclusion of about 2 minutes. So it'll keep us going fast, keep us running through this, and then we'll figure it out from there. Okay, are you ready to dive into the Thanksgiving slate in the NFL? All right, I am hitting the timer. We are starting. We are off. Starting with...
Is this going to do it automatically, or do you have to trigger that? All right,
I'm going to restart it now.
I didn't know if it was you had set contraption up so that it'll automatically gobble, or if this is?
It'll hopefully it's on my phone, so we'll see. I was literally Googling and I ducked into a conference room. I was like, if somebody comes in right now, it's like, it's not good. So anyway, are you ready?
Yeah, no, I'm good.
All right, Thursday afternoon, we have the Chicago Bears going to Detroit to take on the Lions. The Lions are 10.5-point favorites at home. 48.5 is the total. This, by the way, according to Action Network, the biggest favorite the Lions have been on Thanksgiving since 1968, yet they have not won on Thanksgiving since 2016. Last year, you might recall, they were touchdown favorites and got absolutely rolled by the Packers. Do you see them reversing that trend? Do you have any leans here in this game?
I'm leaning towards Chicago and taking the points. And I know it's maybe a fool's errand to step in front of this Detroit train right now, but I'm buying a little bit of the Chicago offense, what we've seen over the last few weeks since the offensive coordinator change. Caleb Williams, he's getting the ball out, which I think is, it mitigates some of the struggles he's had against the blitz, using his legs a little bit more, spreading the ball around. And, you have all of these playmakers, and they're finally getting the requisite amount of targets in receptions per game. So I like where they're heading offensively in a divisional game. Short week, I'll take the points.
I am leaning to the Lions.
I'm trying to be quick with that.
Yeah, I know.
I just keep waiting for the gobble.
Yeah, the Lions. It's 10.5 is a lot, and there's not a whole lot of reason to believe on Thanksgiving necessarily that they can cover that number. It does kind of feel like a little bit of a throw out the record books type of deal. For me, I look at the Bears like it feels like they're kind of eating out on the reputation for their defense that they had earlier in the season, but it's been pretty bad over the last handful of weeks since week 8. Or since their bye week, they're 20th in EPA, despite being 8th for the entire season. Their run defense has been pretty bad, giving up 100 yards plus routinely. Here comes a two-headed run attack with Gibbs and Montgomery. I think that opens up the field a lot for Jared Goff. I think some long, sustained drives here. The Lions find a way to cover, and I think it probably goes under.
Oh.
So there we go.
I don't know if anybody can hear that. I can hear it.
I hope so. We'll have to double
but
check.
I like the over. I like the over, to your point. Because I'm with you on the Bears defense struggling.
I got the under, though. Because I think it's going to be long drives. I just don't think the Bears are going to. I know that probably came off as weird. So, all right, let's go.
So there we go. You Detroit in the under, Chicago in the over.
Bingo.
Let's move on.
Game number 2
this
on
game
Thanksgiving.
sucks.
This is a terrible game. In the afternoon, late afternoon game.
Bowl.
NFC East battle between the New York Giants and the Dallas Cowboys. Dallas obviously hosting, as they always do, as 3.5-point favorites here. The total set at 37.5. The most likely quarterback matchup here is Cooper Rush versus Tommy DeVito. That being said, both of them are banged up. Rush has a bum knee. Tommy DeVito is added and is questionable with a forearm issue. Not like that's going to matter. This is going to feel like a preseason game. I have no real desire to watch this outside of the fact that it's a football game on Thanksgiving. How are you handicapping this one?
Well, I would feel better if Tommy DeVito doesn't play. I think going to Drew Lock is
agree.
At least you're raising the upside. I feel like
they're trying to tank though, like quite clearly.
Yeah, it's pretty clear. But that being said, I'm leaning towards taking the points again. I'm going to take the Giants. I think they'll be able to do enough running the ball against Dallas's rush defense. Really, since Tyrone Tracy has taken over and been more involved in that backfield, the Giants at 3rd in rush success rate since then. Dallas in that same stretch, 30th in rush success rate, dead last in rush EPA for the season. So I think it's an opportunity for the Giants to run the ball. And if there's one other thing the Giants do kind of well, it's they rush the passer. And clearly Dallas has some problems with their offensive line banged up. So I'll take the points, which should be at a premium in this game. But also if this total gets under that 37, I'd really like the over. But I think I lean the over either way.
Interesting. Yeah, so the Giants have one really big thing going against them is that they're absolutely terrible. That being said, there's a lot going against the Cowboys as well. You kind of hit on it, but like you just look at their injury report from earlier this week. Trevon Diggs, Jake Ferguson, Zach Martin were all DNPs on Tuesday. CeeDee Lamb is also banged up. Their offensive line is in shambles. Really, the offensive line is, speaking of like reputational things, hasn't really been good in a handful of years. So that's going to be a problem. As you mentioned, the pass rush of the Giants is pretty good. I think these teams are pretty close. 2.5 feels... Whoa! Gobble, gobble, gobble. Like I was saying,
turn up that volume.
2.5 feels a little bit too little, or No. 2.5 feels like it would be the number base. I would put this like a pick if it was neutral. So I'll take that extra point with the 3.5. I'll take the under 37.5, and I am definitely going to be taking a nap at some point during this game. So.
Big nap game.
All right, our final Thanksgiving game, Miami Dolphins. This is by default the best game of the day. The Dolphins head to Lambeau Field to take on the Packers. Packers are 3.5-point favorites at home. 47.5 is the total here. I guess the one thing to kind of note, and you're going to hear a lot about this, it's going to be cold. And Tua Tagovailoa 0-6 as Dolphins quarterback when the temperature is under 46 degrees. The forecast for Thursday night, clear but cold with a low of 21, a real feel of 6 degrees, wind gust around 25 miles per hour. Ricky, what's your play here?
So I'm trying to not buy too much into that narrative because I think that is really all you're going to hear about going into this game. Also, by the way, this is only a third time that the Packers have played a home game on Thanksgiving.
I thought I saw that somewhere.
I just would have thought it would have been more. I don't know.
I just assumed that it's always been those 2 games forever, and like no one ever really plays it outside of. They lost one of them. I remember they retired Favre's number. They lost to the Bears, I think. Yeah.
Anyways, so I'm going to take Green Bay in this game. And you mentioned the cold weather thing with Tua. Really, I want to see the offense get back to firing all cylinders against better competition. We've seen the 3-game winning streak against the Raiders, Rams, and Patriots. Mm-hmm. All 3 teams in the bottom 11 in terms of defensive EPA per play. Green Bay 8th. Las Vegas offense is last in EPA per play. New England 27. So just the competition they've played in this winning streak isn't great. I want to see it against a good team first. I don't know if they're going to be performing up to the level that maybe we expect on Sunday night. So I like the under as well.
Packers injury issues major here. Edgerrin Cooper sounds like Jair Alexander won't play. That's tough when you got Hill and Waddle coming into town. But I do think this is why they went out and got Josh Jacobs, who has been very good, 5.1 yards per carry over his last 5 games. When the weather gets cold, that's when you kind of lean on him. He's really come alive. I think they find a way to cover it, but barely. And I think I would lean over here with this Thursday night game.
Ooh, timed that very well. I think this is a good Jordan Love game. I think the narrative has shifted on him a little bit this season. Feels like there's now more questions maybe coming into the year.
Well,
big stage.
And he looked good Sunday against a banged up 49ers team. He's healthy now, it seems like.
Finally scored in the red zone, too. I think they scored all their trips in the red zone. So
They have a lot of... It feels similar to last year, but if you want to take it a step further, borderline 2010 territory where it's it was kind of jumbled for the first half of the season. They got hot late, going to run. They're not going to win the division, so that's another thing to consider there, the parallels. One thing that you must consider as you get ready to, spend your Thanksgiving weekend with friends, family, you're gallivanting about, make sure you listen and download our podcast, The Spread. You can find it pretty much wherever you get your podcasts. Most notably, go get it at Spotify. Download all of the Nesson vodcast/podcasts over there. Or another idea, Friday afternoon, Friday morning, Saturday, whenever you got some family over, some friends over after the Thanksgiving, you're huddled around the TV. It's Christmas movie season. No. Throw this thing up on YouTube, throw it up on Twitch, throw it up on the Nesson Facebook page, and watch us break down the best of the NFL in Week 13.
Yeah, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I certainly would be thankful for any listen and download that we get. I welcome everybody who wants to just engage with us.
Of course, and there are so many of them. I mean,
that we know.
Taking the world by storm. All right, we're into our regular scheduled show, whatever you want to call it, program. What's your 3-unit play for Week 13?
Black Friday, or do we want to do that?
Why don't I go first then?
Okay, is this one of your picks?
Yes.
Oh, all right.
Thank you for reading the rundown.
I'm going in cold turkey because I don't know what your picks are, even though I'm pretty sure you sent them.
It was literally in a group chat, yeah.
Well, a lot going on today.
I'm glad you brought it up because I did mean to interject and grab this first. I've got the Black Friday game as my 3-unit play. I'm laying 12.5 points with the Kansas City Chiefs at home against the Raiders. Despite the fact that the Chiefs have given me no reason to want to lay 12.5 points with them at any point this season, I think this is a lot of narrative-based stuff where, I really do think they get up for the Raiders, and maybe vice versa. There was that stuff where the Raiders are making fun of Mahomes at the start of the season. I think the Raiders are pretty much in a bad place, too, so that has to be considered. And, you talk about, Thanksgiving games are tough. I have to imagine the Black Friday going on the road is sneaky bad. Where like
I was actually going to ask you this at the beginning. I almost feel like Thanksgiving week, it would be more. This is how my brain works. More difficult to play on that Sunday than on actual Thanksgiving. Because like for some of the like you're dealing with holiday stuff.
It does throw off
like if you're not working.
Well, that's why.
like you're figuring out like where am I going to have Thanksgiving dinner?
Well,
and
I think
throws your preparation all out of whack. At least if you're playing, you're just playing.
The Friday one's weird because that's
the day right after. Like it's a Thanksgiving hangover.
Like they stay over, so like the Raiders will be in Kansas City for Thanksgiving night, and it's like, well, now you're just kind of caught in between. Friday's just a weird day that you're not totally prepared for, so I guess we'll favor the home team in that regard. The better team. I mean, the Chiefs are no strangers to playing on any day of the week, so there is that. This is a rematch of Week 8. The Chiefs won that game 27-20. That was in Vegas, obviously, and certainly that's not covering a 12.5 number. But I dug into that game, and there probably is a reason for this that I didn't totally get, but. That game should have been more lopsided. The Chiefs outgained the Raiders by about 100 yards, more than 100 yards. They went 12 of 16 on third down. They sacked Gardner Minshew 5 times. They held the Raiders to 33 yards on the ground on 21 rushes, yet they still only won it by a touchdown. Some costly penalties. Maybe that was it. They had 8 penalties for 55 yards. Like, can you just clean that up for me? And I also think since that game, these two teams they've I guess trending in the different directions is a bit oversimplified for two teams. One's really good and one's really bad. But the Vegas defense has been horrendous. Only the Giants and the Jags have been worse by EPA, and they've been especially bad against the pass, 31st in the NFL over that time as well. Mahomes almost quietly has been the best quarterback in the NFL over that same stretch, at least based on EPA plus completion percentage over expected composite, which is the runningbacksdon'tmatter.com stat. So I think this is a good opportunity for him to kind of be like, oh yeah, he's still got 280, 303 touchdowns in him. I think they kind of just run away with this. It's like a 1 o'clock game in Kansas City, Black Friday. It feels like a very classic mail-in spot for the Raiders, despite the fact that you could have said that same thing last year when they went in there and beat them on Christmas. So that's the other thing too. Revenge on the mind here.
Yep. Holiday revenge.
The Raiders, by the way, since that Chiefs loss, they have lost by 17, 15, and 10. So 12.5 feels like a lot, but I'm comfortable laying it here with the Raiders in a game that I just think is going to be go through the motions. And like the Raiders, it feels like the Chiefs have done that a lot this season. And I know I kind of pointed to some numbers that say that they struggle to cover those big numbers, but just it does kind of feel like they're due for a 31-14 game that doesn't even feel like a blowout, but it still is.
Like last week was there for the taking against Carolina, and it never came to fruition. So maybe it's just like you pushed it back a week.
Yeah,
this is not
even. It might not even look overly, one-sided. It's just, but like you're doing the math. It's just a math.
I had a bad beat with the Raiders last week.
Oh
though. Yeah. This is that Raiders Broncos game where they almost snuck in the back door and they got down to the 1 yard line the last possession. Then Desmond Ridder got sacked on the ensuing play. Did not cover. I needed them to cover. So,
sorry.
Yeah, so that sucked. I think I'm with you on this one though, because like my initial reaction was like, all right, double-digit favorite versus a divisional opponent in a weird week with a low total. Like in most cases, I'm siding with probably the underdog there, but I don't know. This Vegas team is pretty bad.
It's bad. There's no talent.
They're tearing the ball over too much.
Yeah, poorly coached. Just I don't know.
Yeah, and it's just the weird week, and also like the no quarterback continuity going into the weird week.
Yeah.
So you got Aiden O'Connell, I think, is starting.
Yeah, because Minshew's hurt. So, what's your 3 in a play?
I'm going to take the Eagles getting 3 points on the road in Baltimore against the Ravens.
If I may interject.
Yeah, please do.
We have breaking news.
Oh.
Which is going to completely undo our first segment. Tommy DeVito didn't even travel to Dallas. Cooper Rush is playing quarterback for the Giants on Thursday.
Cooper Rush?
I mean, Jesus Christ. What's his face? Yeah, Cooper.
Drew
They're switching
Lock?
it. It's Freaky Friday. Yeah, Drew Lock is. Like I said, according to multiple reports, DeVito didn't even travel. Again, this is I probably shouldn't have even brought it up because it has nothing to do with this.
Tommy DeVito breaking news deserves its own turkey gobble.
Yeah, but I don't know. We're having a conversation. It'd be disingenuous to not bring it up.
No,
this is not just a show.
We need to present all the information that we have at the time of recording, and that was pertinent to the first segment.
Should have waited 10 minutes. All right. Start over. What's your 3-unit play again?
What was I talking about?
Your
Eagles Ravens.
Yes.
I like the Eagles.
Okay.
And largely, I put this game in there as a 3-unit pick because I just wanted to talk about it. I think it's a very good game. I think it is you could make the case that this is a potential Super Bowl matchup, depending on how you feel about these teams. So for me, I'm all in on Philly. I mean, I liked Philly before the year, and what I've seen over the past few weeks, liking them even more. And it's just, I think they got back to a lot of what was what they were doing when they were having success in the past, controlling the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball. The rushing attack has clearly been driving them offensively, but they also have the skill position players to beat you through the air. I just feel like they're a team that no matter how a game shakes out, they're going to be able to find a way to be in there and maybe beat you in the end. So I think they're the biggest threat to the Lions in the NFC. I think they come out of the NFC, and I think this week, just what Saquon Barkley's been doing and the threat of how good he's been on the ground is going to allow them to have success through the air. No team has allowed more receptions to tight ends than Baltimore. Only Kansas City has allowed more receiving yards to tight ends, so maybe Dallas Goedert gets involved, makes an impact in this game. I just think two very good teams, and I want to take the points for the team that I think is slightly better. That's the oversimplification of it, but I'm in on the Eagles right now.
Yeah, I don't have a whole lot to add. I mean, we've talked about the Eagles a lot recently. Yeah. It feels like they've been sneaky good. We're in a weird spot where I almost feel like I trust the Eagles more than I trust the Ravens. It's maybe that's like a strength of schedule type of thing. I think the Ravens have probably played some tougher opponents the last few weeks, but just it hasn't felt like the Eagles have broken much of a sweat recently.
No. So I was trying to figure out what's the Eagles' weakness? Coaching?
Yeah.
Head coaching?
Yeah.
Maybe that is ultimately what dooms them in the playoffs, but until you get to
the fact that they haven't
the NFC Championship or whatever, I just don't see that being an issue for the remainder of the regular season. It feels like we talked about this, I think, last week, the week before. They weathered the storm, and they came out on the other side of it, and now they're sort of hitting the ground running, and literally and figuratively. Do you buy Saquon Barkley as a legitimate MVP candidate?
No. Because, what is it? He was 60-1 entering week 12, and is now plus 650. Yeah. That's insane.
Favorite to win Offensive Player of the Year, which he's probably going to win
I have a major 56-1 parlay that involves Derrick Henry winning Offensive Player of the Year that I need. So I need a big week for him. So I might be rooting against Saquon here, but it's been incredible. I think he's just got to stay healthy, and then that gives him a ton of confidence going in. I like what they just going back, what they did in the draft, addressing the secondary. Cooper DeJean's been awesome for them, especially. Yeah, now I'm looking at their schedule. Not a lot of signature wins, but I mean, it'll look better at the end of the year, beating the Packers, Bucks, or no, they lost to the Bucks. Excuse me. Man, yeah, I don't know.
It just feels like high octane offense, top 5 defense.
Of what we've seen lately too, right? It's looked good.
They can. It feels like they can match up with anybody, and I don't anticipate.
Honestly,
it's hard to foresee them getting run out of the building at any point.
Is it unfair to say quarterback might be not the weakness, but a concern?
Sure.
But they went to the Super Bowl with him, so it's it's hard. I don't mean to disrespect.
But to go back to the Barkley thing, I'm with you. I don't foresee a scenario where he wins MVP because I just think it's always going to be a quarterback, and Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson have been good enough.
And I think voters probably look at it and we can get him the Offensive Player of the Year.
Yeah, there's always that consolation prize. But I feel like as far as running back,
more than him, yeah.
As far as running backs go, this is probably as strong of a case as we've seen in a while.
Yeah.
Since maybe like a Derrick Henry year or something.
There's also like a think piece to be written right now where I think people have already mentioned it, obviously, but this the revolution of like too high safety looks and things like that, and how important it's kind of hilarious that like 3 of the best however many teams in the NFL spent big money in the offseason on running backs. Yeah. And it's like those are the smarter front offices. Like, they are out in front of it. And even if you want to look at Detroit, the fact that they have a two-headed like the smart teams have loaded up at a position where they're ahead of it.
The running game's coming back.
Yeah, for now at least. Then it'll change and they'll.
But you just see, with him, it's like the volume's there, the efficiency's there, the big play ability obviously being there, and the whole thing with quarterbacks, obviously, it's how good you make the players around you. I feel like he's making everybody else in that offense better. Like, it's kind of the inverse of what you usually see. It's like he's making the quarterback better,
right? Which
is interesting from a running back standpoint. But
yeah, if you want to make your life better, download The Spread, Nesson's football and sports betting picks podcast on the Nesson family of vodcasts and podcasts. You can get it in your eardrums. Well, I guess you can get it in your eardrums either way. But if you want to listen to just the audio version, go over to Spotify, download that, and download all the Nesson podcasts while you're there, or get it wherever else you get your podcasts. If you want to watch it, which is a great way to look at us as well, we make each other better every week. Go over to the Nesson YouTube page or Twitch or Facebook. You can find it in many, many places, and you can just enrich your life. So listen to The Spread every week, dropping on Thursdays. Okay, what's your 2-unit play?
I'm going to take an over here. I'm going to go Houston and Jacksonville over 43.5. It sounds like Trevor Lawrence is going to play, and I certainly hope so for the sake of this pick. I think that offense, for as many problems as Jacksonville's had, the offense was kind of finding a rhythm before he went down with an injury. Tank Bigsby also back, helped diversify their offense a little bit. But why I'm somewhat hesitant to just take the points with Jacksonville is because of how bad they've been defensively. I feel like we've probably discussed that a few times throughout the course of the season, even going back to the London game. Last in opponent yards per play, last in defensive EPA per play, especially get bad against the pass. So this feels like a get right spot for CJ Stroud, who's been, kind of up and down.
Yeah.
Nico Collins has not missed a step since coming back, so that certainly helps that Houston offense. Jacksonville, one thing that is, the offensive rhythm, even though they found it to a certain degree, still giving the ball away a ton. 16 giveaways, 5th worst mark in the NFL. Houston 23 takeaways, an NFL high. So maybe you get some short fields here that result in points as well. So 43.5 just feels like a little low for two teams with the offensive upside that these teams have. I've talked about this before. Like, I do think Houston's offense is slightly overrated, but with a soft matchup, 43.5 feels like a total that's reserved for some of the more mediocre offenses, whereas I think by and large these two offenses have the potential to be pretty good.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I think the Texans especially have a chance to get you 3/4 of the way there.
Yeah. That's kind of what I'm hoping for.
Yeah, that's understandable. That's probably not a game I'm going to consume much of this weekend.
No.
It's a good week. Good schedule, even outside of the Thursday games and the Friday games. In spite of, I guess, those games are bad. But, yeah, you already talked about. We capped
the weekend pretty strong with the game we already touched on. And then it'd be interesting to see what the injury situation is for San Francisco, which I probably should have put more stock in last week when we were making our picks. But
yeah, probably we'll get to that in a little bit.
Really did not foresee the injury report being quite that bad.
No, it is. It was very bad. Yeah, you laid the points or took the points there, and wrong end of a 28-point schleck. Anyway, my 2-unit pick. Let's talk about the Patriots. I'm taking the under. The Colts come to town. You get Colts-Patriots at Gillette. The total currently is at 42.5. I'm going under that. Got two bad offenses. The 25th, the Colts are 25th. The Patriots are 27th by EPA. And DVOA is not a whole lot better, if at all. For the Colts, the offensive line is in absolute shambles. Their left tackle has missed 2 straight weeks. Their backup center Tanner Bortolini has a concussion, probably not going to play.
Bortolini.
Yeah. So they're down to a third string center. I'm not entirely sure who it is because Ryan Kelly's hurt as well. He's on IR with a knee injury. And I forget who the third string guy is, but I don't think he's played a game since 2022. It's now 2024, almost 2025, so that's a long time to play a very important position. Freeze season's over. This could be their 9th different starting O-line combination this year. Are the Patriots a defense that can take advantage of that? I don't know, but it's not great. They have professional football players by definition.
Yeah.
So there's that. You look at the Colts. Despite they've had the ups and downs of who flip a coin or the quarterback, they've scored more than 20 points just once in their last 7 games. The Patriots, meanwhile, there's a lot of Drake May hype, rightfully so, and I think the Drake May hype is probably based more on 1 or 2 plays per game that looks good than it is the actual full body of work, and not all of that is his fault necessarily, but they have scored more than 20 points 3 times in the 7th game he started. One of those was the Houston game, which had some garbage time. The Rams game, which was somewhat garbage time. They scored 9 points in the 4th quarter in that game, including, or maybe it's more than that, but they scored late with 4 minutes left. Even last week, they didn't go over 20, but last week they scored on a pick six they had late there. So the offense really just has not been humming, hasn't been clicking. They don't have a lot of talent on the offensive side of the ball outside of what we think Drake May could be. So that's a problem. Again, 42.5, it just feels like unless the Patriots are playing the Dolphins or whoever, the number should probably start at 40 and then go down. So the fact that I'm getting under a key number here of 42, I just think this is 20-13, 20-10. Even if you want to go up to 27-10, one way or the other, I just think this is going to be ugly.
When do we stop giving Drake May the abundance of wiggle room right now?
We're getting close. I mean, he's a rookie quarterback in a bad system with no talent around him.
I think long term he's going to be all right. I think
he's gonna be fine.
I think he's.
But
I
don't know if he's gonna be.
You kind of when you see it sort of deal. I think with him you've seen enough that you're there's something to work with there. But it is to your point, the offense hasn't been much better than it was with Jacoby Brissett. At the end of the day, from a
it's because that was the thing, right? We had this conversation way back.
It just looks different.
We were wearing short pants in August and September. It says, if you could start the year with Drake May, but you're going to have some growing pains over the course of the season, or you can start with Jacoby Brissett, and your ceiling or your floor is extremely low, but he's not going to turn the ball over a ton. And now you put in May, and he's making boneheaded plays you expect a rookie quarterback to do. So there is that. If you want to touch on the Patriots thing too, real quick, you have any takes on the Gerard Mayo thing, where he again kind of is running his mouth after a game in a way that probably didn't sit well with the rest of his locker room? Speaking of the locker room, you got guys kind of guffawing in the locker room after the game.
Yeah,
got some coverage as well.
So I think this week, while largely a throwaway game, it would appear in the grand scheme of things, could tell you a lot about this team, because this feels like a game with a Bill Belichick coach team that they would come out and, to your point, defensively would have their way with Anthony Richardson in the Colts offense. I'm not sure this Patriots team does that, though.
No.
So I think it's equally on the table that the Colts come out and hang 30 on them, because the Patriots just aren't prepared defensively, and they're not able to take advantage of inexperienced quarterback play like Bill Belichick coach teams have. I think I just don't think they're being put in a position to succeed week over week, and now it's just it's starting to seep into all areas of that football operation. It's just bad right now.
One thing I will mention, the Jaguars thing in London got a lot of play where he called his team soft. They did come out and win the next week against the Jets, but the Jets at home doesn't look as
in
impressive.
Hindsight, that's probably the best opponent you could have had at that point in time.
Yeah, so there is that. It feels unfair to be they have to blow out Gerard Mayo at the end of the season. And I think a lot of the grace and excuse making you want to give Drake May, you probably should at least reserve some for Gerard Mayo, who's going through this for the first time. But I think that's kind of the problem, is that I floated this by you. Like, what were Gerard Mayo's priors outside of being an assistant coach? Like, he is the prototypical, and everyone knows this person, right? You've not necessarily sucked up, but you just took advantage of the right opportunities, got in the good graces of the right people, said the right buzzwords in meetings, took on the right projects, and like, did you actually do your job well?
Did you have a plan?
Yeah.
Like, what's the plan?
Yeah. Are you just kind of
and that started really as early as day one when he was kind of contradicting himself, talking out of both sides of his mouth. Like, you just were never really sure what the message was, like what was going to be the identity of his team, and it's only gotten worse as the season has gone on. Like, how many times has he backtracked on things?
I think that's an alarming thing, is like, he came in and said all these things about what he wanted his team to be. It clearly hasn't been that, and it's like, were you just saying that because we're going to be tough to play against, like the NFL version of like, we're going to have a lot of synergy and collaboration. Like, it's like, okay, what does that mean then? Like, how does that manifest itself? I think in like professional sports, it's far more important to be able to put that on the actual field or the court or wherever. Like, so it's like, they're not getting any better. That's what's crazy. Like, this is a lost year, and like, I think he probably gets another one, but I think they blow out at least one of his coordinators and bring in a quote unquote adult, and like say I wouldn't even blame them if they're like, hey, we're bringing in, I don't know, Mike McCarthy. If he gets fired in Dallas and they fire Van Pelt, the offense is similar. We bring him in. It's like, hey, if this thing goes sideways in the first 6 weeks, we're firing your ass and we're putting in McCarthy and we'll figure it out after that. So like, I think everything's on the table going into the offseason.
What is like what is the redeeming quality of this team right now? Is there one?
No, they don't.
Like, there's not one thing that you can point to as being like, all right, well, they got that to hang their hat
hasn't
on.
gone totally off the tracks. They're just bad. Like, it's not dysfunctional necessarily.
Yeah, but some of what came out of the most recent loss, like, it's starting to feel like it could head that way.
I just think it's more. I think are you talking about locker room stuff?
Yeah.
That doesn't bother me. I think that's like, they were down 30-0 and kind of had made peace with the fact that they were going to lose. I think that's just more of like an acceptance of being a bad team. That's not great, but I don't think that's like.
Yeah, I don't think
it's like a revolt or whatever.
Sure, but I think as far as what you wanted to see, like, you knew they were going to be bad, or most likely going to be bad this year. You at least wanted to have some level of respectability to where you felt good as the season ended. And right now, unless they go on some run, and it feels like the most likely or the path you would hope for that would be just Drake May plays out of his mind, and I don't think he's positioned to have that sort of run.
That's a good point.
We're going to get to the end of the year and be like, what the hell was that?
Yep.
Like, we're no different now than we were last year.
It's just a lost year.
So, not good.
No. What is good is the spread. Nesson's Sports Betting and NFL Picks podcast. A podcast that has withstood the test of time. We have been doing this thing for the better part of a decade, even more than a decade. So if you want to join the fun every Thursday, make sure you download on Spotify, Apple, wherever else you get your podcasts. If you want to listen to it, or if you want to watch it, head on over to the Nesson YouTube page, nesson.com/Facebook, or facebook.com/Nesson, or Twitch. We have Twitch now. So go check it out over there and join us here every week for all the best sports betting and NFL picks you can find every Thursday with the spread. All right, let's get into our one-unit picks and get out of here. I got stuff to do. I think we'll get a turkey. So.
You don't have one yet?
I mean, I have one. I got to go.
Oh.
I know I got a lot of other stuff I got to get
on that.
It's whatever.
You doing a turkey trot?
No, I meant to. I just didn't get around to it.
You get 364 other days to do it?
Yeah, I think I'm going to go do like my fetch at the football field tomorrow.
Oh, hell yeah. I'm gonna come drive by one of these days.
Yeah, you want to run routes? I'll hit you down the field.
Yeah, we could have like when Brady was throwing to receivers during COVID. We'll have our own little.
It's a good workout.
All right. Speaking of bad football, my one-unit pick. I'm gonna take another over. I'm gonna go another over. I'm a big under guy, but I'm going a lot of overs this week. Tampa Bay and Carolina over 46.5. These are two over teams this year. Tampa Bay 7-4 to the over, surpassing the spread by an average of 7.6 points per game, which is the highest in the NFL. They had a stretch of 6 straight overs from week 4 to week 9. totals of 49, 66, 78, 72,
Holy
57,
moly.
54. This is a team that you get Mike Evans back. Like I think offensively they're pretty good. They get really like the running back room that they have. Defensively though they stink. I think you've seen some strides from Carolina offensively, who is they are 8-4 to the over, surpassing the spread by an average of 5.8 points per game, 5th highest in the NFL. So just two bad defenses. A very good offense in Tampa Bay, an offense that's showing some signs of life with Carolina, and I think might be able to do a little bit in this game. And I mean, their head coach was Tampa Bay's offensive coordinator last year, so you would think if anybody knows how to attack Tampa Bay's defense, it would be him. So 46.5, I'm thinking somebody gets up around the 30 range in this game.
I love it. You know who I'm really coming around on is Baker Mayfield.
Me too. Me too. This year,
that's all you ask for, right? Like the kid was a bit of a dweeb or a dipstick coming in the NFL. He's gone through some trials and tribulations, probably some saturation with like commercials and stuff like that. But like,
guys want to play for him, right?
Yeah.
Like it's the public comments back that up, but also like you just see it.
Yeah.
Like you're like, wow, they like playing for this guy. I think there's a lot to be said for that.
Yeah.
And
the coolest thing was him like running downfield and blocking on Sunday.
Yeah,
in a game they were up by a ton already. Like that's all you can't teach that.
I'm into
that's
stuff
the kind
like
of stuff.
that.
Like not to bring it back, but like what from the Patriots, for example, have you seen that resembles anything close to that?
That fires you up like that. Yeah. Yeah. You know what though? And another thing is like from just a pure entertainment standpoint, you need more Baker Mayfields in the NFL.
I agree. Yeah.
Like at the end of the day, sports is entertainment, and you need characters, and he's a character.
Even if you want to hate him, like
yeah, you know, I'm not saying you gotta like
that,
him.
Yeah,
he's an entertaining guy.
Yeah, and he's playing well, so good for him.
Tampa Bay, I don't look this up, but I might buy low on them. I don't know. They might be still alive in that division.
I
don't like
you've
Atlanta.
probably missed
the
boat on
yeah.
that. They were something like 9-1 to win the division a few weeks ago or something like that.
It was like right after those, and we talked about this. I think like right after those two receiver injuries, their stock had plummeted. But as you looked ahead, you're like, if they can get through this, they're gonna get Mike Evans back at some point. And like I said, they have 3 good running backs that they can lean on. And yeah, I don't know. I like Tampa Bay still, as bad as they've been.
Yeah, so my one unit play. This is more of just I look at it and it's like, it doesn't look right.
That's all I need.
I'm taking the 49ers. I'm gonna grab the 7 points. I know it's 2 weeks on the road and really tough places to play going across the country, but like maybe that's more reason to kind of dive in when nobody else wants to. They're catching 7 points at Buffalo against the Bills. Again, like it feels like an overreaction to what wasn't totally the 49ers last week. Brock Purdy sounds like still might miss another game. There's a slightly discouraging update on him the other day. So again, that's a big one, but like I can't sit here and say like I'm not totally sold on Brock Purdy then just run away when he's injured. I think the bigger thing is it does sound like they're going to get a handful of other guys back at some premium positions that, I mean, you mentioned it. They were missing what? I mean, Bosa, even I think Debo was banged up last week. Injuries on the offensive line. I think they're going to be a little bit healthier this week. This just feels like an overreaction to what we saw last week. You're looking for the year, both top 10 teams by DVOA. If the 49ers can channel anything close to that, I think 7's way too much for this spot. So I like the fact that I'm getting a touchdown and an extra point here with a 49ers team that if you can't get off the mat here, the season's probably over. So you get a little bit of desperation as well. Buffalo, they just, I don't know. Like I don't know how to feel about the Bills at this point. So I guess this is an indication I'm still a little bit skeptical, despite the fact that they're 9-2 and undefeated at home. So I don't know. Do you have any takes on this? Like if you look at Buffalo hasn't had a ton of blowouts this season, at least not since.
You think the 49ers should have signed Daniel Jones? Like why?
Why not?
But
at the same time though, like if they think he stinks, then he stinks. Because like it didn't work with Trey Lance, obviously. It didn't work with miscalculation on Sam Darnold. But like
who he's now backing up.
Yeah. Now he's in Minnesota. So like maybe
full circle.
I don't know. But like this is a big week for Mike Shanahan too.
Yep.
Or Mike Shanahan.
Yeah.
It is a big week for Mike Shanahan.
I mean, sure, it's a big week for the entire family.
Big week for Kyle Shanahan too. I put this in the notes. Like, if they lose, if they miss the playoffs, is he in trouble at all?
Yeah. Yeah.
You think so?
I'd say so. I don't think ultimately he gets fired, but I think the seat's warm.
Sure. I think he probably gets another year because I also look at it's like
hard. It makes next year, of course, really make or break.
It's hard to hire a head coach. Obviously, we're seeing that right now across a lot of markets. I think it's like if he does shake free, teams line up to try to get him, and it's like if that's the case, you're like, ooh, I don't. That
next coach of the Patriots.
Yeah, no. I mean, the Jets, Patriots, if they want to get like, there's a handful of decent spots. You get Dallas, if that like all of that it'd be high drama when you throw in the Belichick and Vrabel of it all too. But I think he's got another year probably. So
yeah,
to consider. And I just think like get off the mat this week
when you start to factor in some of the their shortcomings in the playoffs and like some
of course
some clock management things or what, like there's been it hasn't been totally smooth at times.
The injuries do kind of give them an excuse this week though.
Yeah,
or this year. Speaking of this whole thing, I have a big week for the Packers. Not to bring it back to the Packers as always, but like they'll have beaten McVay, Shanahan, and McDaniel if they win this. And I think that gives Matt LaFleur like the Buddies Bowl title for at least for a year. So, something to keep in mind. Any other Thanksgiving thoughts this week, Ricky? Black Friday.
No, I'll circle back on how I tackled it this year.
Okay, I'm looking forward to it. I'm actually very much interested in that. So, because Lord knows I'll probably be by about Thursday at 2 or 3 in the afternoon. I'll be like, why don't we go to the restaurant?
Yeah. So. I'll let you know. We can maybe next year we'll play football at the local park.
Hell yeah.
And then we'll go grab some Chinese food and call it a day.
That sounds good to me. So.
No cooking involved. We're just two guys just talking football and enjoying the sights.
All right, speaking of calling it a day, we're done here. Thanks for joining us on The Spread. Happy Thanksgiving. We'll see you again next week. Goodbye.